propainkey says, would you ever consider doing a MythBusters reboot if they asked you and Jamie? Or are you content with that chapter of your life being over? It's such a good question. It's a really reasonable question. But no, I am really content with that part of my life being over. And part of it is the realism, part of it is thinking through realistically about what television is today versus what it was when we started making the show. First of all, you know, MythBusters, just the ratings got better and better and better for the first like 8 years. Like a steady rise every week, just incredible. And then they crested. The ratings leveled off and then they started to drop. So what that means is that, you know, trying to reboot, I'll put it this way. When we were making MythBusters, my best understanding of our budget was that it was about $750,000 per episode. That was all aspects of production, all employee and talent salaries inclusive. That sounds like a lot of money. It's pretty average for television. That is now a phenomenal budget for in my understanding, for like a reality show. Because 3 years later, after we wrapped MythBusters and I made Savage Builds, my budget on that show was $71,000 per episode. Less than a tenth of what I had. And that trend continues. Not to say that, you know, a network couldn't get interested and want to make me a sweetheart deal, but I don't see it happening and no one's calling. All this is by way of saying, if I wanted to make MythBusters again, I would at least want to make it with the same level of a machine that we had, which was like 22, 25 people working full-time year-round. To try and make the show with anything less than the machine we built to make the show would be less fun. And no one's gonna fund it. So it just doesn't even occur to me to think about like, oh, that would be really delightful. Plus, it's now almost exactly a decade since the last episode of MythBusters aired. We're really close to that anniversary. I'm a lot older now, man. You know, doing all those stunts, they get harder and harder to do the older you get. I mentioned that you heal less easily when you grow older. The weirdest part about this brain growing older is that I can no longer remember every detail of every build. In fact, I remember very few details of almost any build unless the materials and the pieces are directly in front of me. I watch videos from like 2 years ago and I have no idea what is going to happen. It's very peculiar. Thank goodness so much of my output has been recorded so I can refer back to it. Yeah. So I feel lucky every day that we got to make almost 300 hours of television over 13 and a half years with just such a great crew of people who were all pulling on the same rope. It was so much fun. And now I'm having as much or more fun doing this. Seriously. So yeah, the idea of putting a hold on this machine to go do television, that's not a proposition I think I would entertain, or at least that I would entertain lightly. Oh, Justin Matulonis says, do me and Mrs. Donttrythis have a song or a date night movie? We don't have a specific song. We've got some songs we absolutely actually, we have an artist that is like part of our early courtship. This is a great story. I think it was around, God, like early, it just doesn't matter what the date is. Somewhere mid-production on MythBusters. my wife and I were watching Grey's Anatomy, and a song came on, this beautiful song by a woman. And the song turned out to be called I'm Not Going Anywhere. And it was a single by a French chanteuse, amazing singer, songwriter named Karen Ann, Kerenann, Karen Ann. Karen Ann is still producing music, is still amazing at it, and has many, many albums in English and in French. They are all worth your time. And we were watching Grey's Anatomy, we heard this song, we looked it up, we downloaded it, we got the album, we started listening to Karen Ann obsessively. Right, so this is when I was living over in Sunnyside. I remember specifically the house we were listening to it in. So this is all pre-2010. And we saw that Karen Ann was coming to play at Café du Nord. Now, Café du Nord still exists, but it is a shadow of its former self. Back in the day, Café du Nord was one of the greatest little venues in San Francisco. Housed about 85 people. Stage is only about a foot high. I have had some of the most spectacular intimate audience experiences in that room at Café du Nord. And we heard that Karen Ann was playing at Café du Nord. And we're like, we are totally going. This is awesome. And so we go out, we go to Café du Nord. We're buying t-shirts from her tour manager. And he's a fan. And we start conversing. And I say, where are you guys headed to next? And he says, well, tomorrow morning, we're flying to Chicago to do a show at the Sofitel. Sofitel is a great, great series of hotels. And the Sofitel in Chicago, love that place. Anyway, the weirdest thing was that my wife and I were flying to Chicago the next morning and we were staying at the Sofitel. So I said that. And he was like, well, tomorrow night, you got to come on down and be part of this thing. And so we did. And we got to see her the next night or 2 nights later in Chicago. And then we were hanging out afterwards. And she and the tour manager were like, what are you guys doing for dinner on Sunday night? Karen is going to cook dinner for her friends in Chicago. And we would love you guys to join. And so we did. We went and had dinner with Karen and her band and the tour, her trumpeter, Avishai. Oh my God, they ended up coming to San Francisco. They played, where did they play? DNA. And they came over to the house for dinner. Karen came. I have pictures of Karen playing guitar. Now this is we've been friends for a few years and she's back in San Francisco. The boys are like 12 or 13 and Karen goes down, both boys play guitar and she spent like an hour and a half down there just like playing guitar with my sons. And like she came back upstairs, we were hanging out on the deck and she's like, oh my God, kids are incredible. Their minds. And like, she was intoxicated hanging out with young musicians. It was great. And I will say that whenever Karen Ann comes on through a playlist or comes on the radio, my wife and I absolutely share a kind of, and you know, I saw Karen about 10 years ago. I was in New York. She was living there at the time. I think she's back in France now. Like I said, she's still making music in both languages, English and in French. And again, really worth your time to listen to. She's amazing. PDXASM says, you showed us the new Laguna bandsaw. What about the sexy Laguna table saw I peeped in the background? With the table saw such an important tool to you, any concerns about changing horses? You know, PDXASM, the new Laguna bandsaw is great. I'm really, really happy with it. It is, I actually have to make an adjustment in it because it is like an arc minute out of square. It's very, very small. Pretty negligible from a woodworking standpoint, but still, it's there. The reason you haven't seen a video about it is it's just a table saw. Like table saws are amazing, but to me, they just are, right? Like I debated whether to get the saw stop or just a regular bread and butter table saw, and I decided not to get the saw stop. I cut too much aluminum. I'm too fast and loose on the table saw. I will be setting it off all the time for various reasons, and that won't be work. Wouldn't work for me. But yeah, the table saw is great. It's great. It's quieter. Its predecessor, my Powermatic, I had used since it was new. So like almost 40 years. And it did me really well. And that's actually gone on to another home where it will get used for another 40 years assiduously, which is great. But yeah, that's why I haven't covered it. It's just a tool. It's like there's nothing like super crazy special about it. I do have to adjust its dust retrieval, but that's an ongoing project. Thank you for watching. I wanted to talk to you about Tested membership. The Tested members are a key community that we find really, really remarkable. That's very separate from Tested and from YouTube. The Tested members, they buy each other memberships during our live streams. So if you're wondering whether to become a member, watch one of our live streams and someone may just give you one. It is hard to overestimate how much the Tested members actually make possible on this channel. They give us a lot of wiggle room. They give us a huge amount of feedback.
That's a member right now.
Thank you so much for enjoying your membership. Description for everything you need to know. And for all the members out there, thank you, thank you, thank you.